Hello, hi, my name is Ren, and sometimes I draw stuff. And sometimes that stuff turns out to be Pokemon for every single day for a whole year. I'll be going through all the art I made for this project while I talk to myself about what this whole thing even was, and why I did that, and how it all went down. So, what the hell was this all about? I'm so glad you asked. Let's get into it. All of this is part of a little self-imposed project I started in 2023, which I call the 360 project. As the name and the contents of this video suggest, it was about drawing Pokemon for 360 days straight, or, well, at least trying to do that. We'll get to that part later. But that's not all there is to it. That will be too simple. We all know creativity flourishes best with some restrictions, so I made up some more rules to help me along the way and make it more fun. So let's quickly go over them together. Yay, rules! First rule, obviously, draw every single day, if possible. Second, if I do miss a day, that's just how it goes. That day is gone. No catching up by drawing twice as much the next day. I know of myself. I have definitely done this for past Inktober's, etc. before, so I needed to prevent this kind of silly behavior from the get-go. Third rule, start a new drawing every single day. This was to prevent me from getting too ambitious. Very important to keep that artistic hubris in check. And the next one, draw for 30 minutes a day, maximum. I can always do less, but not more. And the next one, those 30 minutes or less would be spent drawing Pokemon and nothing else. If I wanted to draw other stuff, I could always do that afterwards, if I still had the time and energy, of course. But that half hour was Pokemon time, and not just any Pokemon. There would be a limited set of Pokemon to draw from every 30 days, so a total of 12 different sets. I don't know why I'm calling them sets, they're basically just evolution lines, so, you know. And that's that on that. No other restrictions on medium or anything else. Everything was fair game in that regard. Some of these rules might seem a little weird at first glance, so I shall explain my strange and wondrous mind to you. As I've mentioned in my last video, I was coming out of a period of severe creative burnout, or just full-on burnout, to be honest. The rest of my life wasn't looking ideal or productive either. Anyway, given the state of things, I really needed a change of pace, and this was it, which is why the 30-minute time restriction exists. I wanted to prevent myself from even thinking about making good art or getting any kind of ambitions for the daily drawings. There is no way I could finish anything big or very detailed or very finished in just 30 minutes. This meant my brain couldn't put pressure on me in that regard. And I know from previous daily art challenges that this is in fact something the little fucker loves doing. Just stress for no reason. This is also part for the reason I decided that I had to start a new drawing every single day. No chance to go back and fix up the old stuff, just gotta work with what I had time for. I really wanted to challenge myself a little to try and explore new things during the year, and it also made sure I didn't get stuck on any one thing for too long, keeping it fresh and keeping it moving, as they say. Now, I'm usually more of a character artist, drawing my own little characters over and over, sometimes even in something else than the classic 3/4 view portrait format. I know, crazy. So, why was I doing Pokemon for this, and I humans? Surely that would have been easier. And it probably would have been easier in some ways, that is true. Alas, drawing people was the exact thing that got me burnt out in the first place, so I wanted a break from that, and Pokemon was, from my perspective, an obvious choice for several reasons. First up, I have been a certified Pokemon enjoyer from an early age. I still remember we used to have a poster of the first gen in my childhood bedroom, and I used to trace the drawings so we could make our own Pokemon cards with them. They turned out ugly as fuck, by the way, unsurprising. I was like 6. Anyway, I have always enjoyed the little critters, and I also have always wanted to draw them, but I was kind of really bad at it for the most part. Over the last few years, I've gotten a little better, so now it doesn't seem like an unsurmountable challenge anymore. this point, they're more motivating than demotivating, to me at least. But yeah, very motivating in huge part because they're very cute and looking at them makes me very happy. And also, importantly, compared to other subjects, Pokemon are pretty easy to draw, generally, given that they're made of fairly simple shapes and are easily readable and don't overwhelm you with details. Which puts another point on the scoreboard for not stressful and very chill, respectively. Obviously, saying I'm just gonna draw Pokemon is already a limit in and of itself, but that wasn't enough for me. Given how many of them there are at this point, hundreds upon hundreds, by the way, in case you're not familiar with the franchise, you can still get decision paralysis just looking at any given list. So I settled on one evolutionary line per 30 days. This would give me enough time to really learn how to draw any given Pokemon and also forced me to come up with some more interesting ways to draw them than just standing around in the default sprite pose. Not that there's anything wrong with a good default sprite pose, but it does get boring. And 30 days was also short enough so I wouldn't get bored of them. I've noticed in myself that I'm losing interest and enthusiasm for monthly challenges close to the end, typically. So I wanted to keep it fresh every month so I wouldn't give up on the whole thing 45 days in. Now that I've spent forever explaining what I was even doing, how did it go? Well, it went really well, actually. I did indeed stick with it for the full 360 days and had a good time for the most part. Now that's not a very detailed or satisfactory answer, I know, so I'm going to go through a little list of things I learned over the year I spent doing this, just a few things I'd like to impart on anyone watching this who might want to embark on their own little project sometime. And yes, it's also a list because I love lists, don't come for me. First lesson. Just start. If there is a project or challenge you want to try and you're not sure about everything yet, just fucking start. Sometimes you have to stop planning and thinking about it and just do it. If you don't start now, you might never get to it. I started this one while I was busy prepping for an academic deadline. Just start. Start small, start with something easy, but do start. Second, the longer your project is going to take to complete, the easier your daily task has to be. You may get away with doing a full illustration every day for a month-long challenge like Mermaid or Inktober, but you cannot realistically expect this of yourself for a whole year or even 100 days. It's too much. You'll burn out or give up. Don't do that to yourself. As someone who got burned out because I expected myself to draw a lot every day, every week, for years, take it from me, do not do it. There were more than enough days where I just did a quick doodle in 2 minutes because that's all I could manage with the time and motivation I had, and that's okay. It's always better to make it easier for yourself than might be strictly necessary at the beginning and then increase the difficulty with time than it is to start with an overwhelming amount of work and then crash and burn because it's just too much. Remember, this is a hobby. This is supposed to be fun. Do not turn this into your own personalized saw trap instead. If you want to leave yourself open for some more elaborate work, then do that, but set the baseline expectation low for every single day. Remember, if you're doing a challenge or project for several months and not just 2 weeks, there will be holidays, there will be emergencies, you will get sick or too busy, and what then? Better to stick with something simple and achievable. Why would you want to set yourself up for failure on purpose? Next step, make the project something you love. Again, unless you are setting out to build your own personalized torture mechanism, do not choose a subject matter you dislike or even hate in, the spirit of improvement or whatever. Do just anything you like. Choose a motif you like. If you don't care about the subject matter, choose a medium you like. Make it the most fun imaginable, because even with that, it will get frustrating, it will get boring, even annoying. You can start out with all the enthusiasm and joy you want. Sometimes it will just suck ass. But that will be balanced out by the good days. Even on terrible days, it was extremely motivating to me to look back at all the drawings I'd already done, because I just love looking at Pokemon. So do yourself a favor, draw Blorboblebus, draw your favorite flower, your favorite K-pop idol, your favorite animal, whatever, draw clouds if you love those. Whatever makes you happy to look at, choose that, because you will be looking at it a lot. Now, next thing is a bit more fun. Variety is the spice of life. It's important to keep up your motivation on a long-term project, so switching it up sometimes is necessary. Be that medium or subject matter or colors or technique, you can do that when you're getting bored, or like me, if you love planning, you can try and force some variety into your plans from the beginning. Because I knew I couldn't stick to drawing the same Pokemon for a whole year, I gave myself a little variety every single month, and I also tried to vary the colors and body types and shapes of the Pokemon I chose from month to month as well. And that, I think really helped me stay interested over the whole year. Again, a year is really, really long. I can only recommend you do, not the exact same thing every single day. Unless, of course, that makes you super happy. But yeah, and while we're on the matter of planning, I recommend that you make as many decisions as possible before you start. Again, this is coming from someone who loves planning things, but I really think you make it easier for yourself if you prep properly for a long-term project. The longer you have to spend every single day on making a decision, the less time you have for actually working on your project. So, the fun part of it, pick out your subject matter, pick out your medium if you want to. You just have to know what you're getting into on any given day, so you don't sit there with decision paralysis and end up doing nothing, or doing very little because you spend so much time thinking about, what could you possibly be doing? Now, that said, not even all the planning in the world can protect you from this next point, which is that life will inevitably fuck you. Unfortunately, if you're going for any long-term project, it is almost inevitable that something will go wrong. It doesn't matter how well you plan, how much you hope for the best. There will be things you can't control that will throw you off your game. Emergencies, getting sick, holidays, unexpected deadlines, anything. And because these things are almost inevitable, it's important to make your peace with the fact that you will probably fail in some way. You can just throw the idea of perfection into the bin right from the start. You will miss some days, you will have days where everything you draw is shit. That's just how it goes. You will do yourself an immense favor if you don't expect too much from yourself. It'll just stress you out, and that's the last thing, a hobby ought to be doing. I went into this whole thing knowing full well I would not manage an unbroken string of 360 daily drawings. Would I have loved that? Yeah, sure, but that is a crazy expectation. It was just not going to happen, and it didn't. And because I didn't beat myself up over every single day I messed up and that I missed, I still ended up having a really good time, and I still got my 360 drawings in, which probably would not have happened if the pressure of an unbroken streak was there looming behind me every time I was like, oh fuck, I missed a day. It just ended up taking me a little bit longer, and that's fine. Ultimately, what I really want to impart on you is that, anyone who wants to do a project or a challenge like this with daily drawings, make the rules work for you. There are, of course, hundreds of challenges out there other people have come up with that you can do. But what I did and what I would recommend is that you create your own. Customize the shit out of that. If you find something you like in somebody else's challenge, steal it. Just take the bits you like and leave the parts you don't. Make it work for you. We all only have a finite amount of free time to spend drawing stuff or making any other kind of art. Do you really want to spend a lot of that on a project or challenge that isn't exactly the thing you really want? Like a year, following a challenge you only kind of enjoy? Fuck no. Also, very importantly, you can change the rules whenever you want. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're not having a good time, change something. It's too much, do less. Maybe do every second day instead of every single day. Maybe lower the expectations for any given day even more. It's too boring, add some more rules you think would be fun, add some more variety. No one can stop you. You are not bound to the rules you come up right at the beginning of the thing. I happen to stick to my plan because, not to brag, but I have a really good idea of what I personally enjoy, what I can expect myself to be able to do every single day for months and months and months. This is just a side effect of drawing for over a decade. You learn stuff about yourself, you get a feeling for how productive you actually can be when life happens around you. And still, even like that, I ended up adding a little unofficial rule into the whole thing pretty late. I had a lot of fun doing a little digital illustration at the end of my first 30-day chunk. And because of that, I decided I wanted the same thing for all the other 30-day chunks as well. And I liked it, but I also stuck to my 30 minutes on that because that was my most important rule, and I didn't want to go overboard and end up stressing me out any more than it already did to be like, oh, it's day 30, I need to make, something digital that looks nicer than just a scribble. But most importantly, if you notice that you aren't having fun and you don't like something as restrictive as a challenge or demanding as a daily drawing thing, you can just stop. If you have a bad time, please just stop. Go do something fun instead. There is no prize at the end except the enjoyment you got over the whole project and the accomplishment you feel when you're done. There is no fanfare, there is nothing. You're not, getting showered with praise. Even if you tell your friends, they'll be like, oh wow, that's really cool, but is that going to make up for 360 days of high stress because you were like, oh no, I need to draw every single day or I'll fail? There's nothing at the end except what you made of it. It's just you and your project. So make it your project. And one last thing I want to mention that I noticed that was very instructive for myself is the importance of what I like to call committing to the bit. As I said, there was no minimum requirement for my own project, and indeed there were a lot of days where I only did a quick little doodle and called it a day. And you know what? The more I did that, the less fun it was. I had the best times when I actually gave all my attention to my sketchbook for the 30 minutes or like 25 minutes or something, but like a big chunk of time. It was great to sit down, put on music, set a timer, and just focus on my drawings for half an hour. And that's coming from someone who loves putting on YouTube while I draw normally. I might actually do that less from now on because I notice how the multitasking sucks some of the fun out of drawing and painting for me. And really, at the end of it, as I said, any project is what you put into it. So if you are going to spend so much time on it, why not make an effort? And yeah, that is all I have to say on the matter. I am really glad I did this whole project and I stuck it out to the end. I probably won't do anything quite like this again, but I had a really good time while it lasted. If you stuck around to the end, I hope you also had a good time, and I hope you start your own little fun project, if you feel like it. And of course, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.